Make a pick and roll with it. Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown.
Welcome into a Friday playoff edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. I am Doug Kezirian alongside Albert Nguyen, also known as Analytics Capper, as we put to bed the WNBA regular season last night. Had a strong showing in the show. West goes 2-0. I go 2-2, but plus 0.95 units. So definitely went bigger on the right plays. Albert, great in Betting Weekly hardball. So a strong performance across the board. Are you ready for the postseason, my friend?
I'm actually super excited. I think there's a lot of storylines, headlined by Nafisa and Asia and that whole MVP discussion. But I'm excited, Doug. I would say this is my second WNBA season where I really followed from beginning to end. And now going into the playoffs is going to be cool just because I followed it for so long in the past previous, couple seasons. It was maybe a game here or there, maybe a team here or there that I would focus on. But this is the second full season from beginning to end. So I'm excited to get into the postseason.
All right, me too. And I am sad because I love firing on the regular season. The playoffs are a different animal, just like the NBA. So it's a different sort of skill that is required. But that doesn't mean we can't find opportunities and things like that. But it is something that you have to adjust to. I believe my final count was 43.1 units this year. In the regular season, it was, it was much higher earlier, a little bit. Took a little bit of a downturn, but we finished the regular season strong, as they like to say. And hey, just a reminder, if you like what you hear on our shows, sign up for the newsletter. Get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. So we kind of knew what the seedings would look like. We had to wait for some formalities, like the Valkyries losing to the Lynx. They could have been the 6th seed if they had won. They're the 8th seed. Storm Aces. Vegas was a double-digit favorite. They took care of business and then some. How about a WNBA record for most threes made in a game? So they're coming to the playoffs, winners of 15 straight. By the way, I think they went under their win total by a half.
Wow.
So finished 15 straight wins, and you still can't cash the over. Pretty painful if you had that, which I did. Brutal. So we turned the page. I want to start just chronological order. There's a quadruple header, much like the NBA opening round on that first Saturday. This is going to be the case on the Sunday. And we have 1 p.m. Eastern tip-off. I forget what time zone it is. Starts on ESPN. Other games will go to ABC, or one other game. But the Valkyries face the Lynx, the rematch of the final regular season game. Fee does, in fact, finish 50-40-90, maybe making a late MVP case. But here are the Valks in the playoffs. Really frisky team. Earlier in the season, real early, they lost by 11 the first 2 meetings to Minnesota. The last couple meetings you kind of throw out, although maybe not the most recent one because Lynx were at full strength. Anything to take away and any way to play this year?
I do like the Minnesota Lynx. I'm going to start out, hot and early here with the first game of the postseason. I love Minnesota as a team. We all know Nafisa Collar, whether she wins MVP or not, she is definitely an MVP type player. And, finishing 34-11 on the season, pretty good. I think they were on a 35-36 win pace early in the year, but Nafisa got hurt, and I think that was kind of a blessing in disguise. It allowed a lot of her teammates and some of the role players to step up and play a bigger role in those games, and they actually continued to win until the very end. So I like Minnesota here in this game. I know you mentioned these two teams have faced off 4 times, right? This is the Valkyries, inaugural season as an expansion team. So, if you look at the patterns and trends like that, it's really hard to leverage those kind of numbers because every single time they're playing a new team, if you will, it's basically a brand new series. So I would say, so they're 4 games in. Minnesota covered 2 games. Golden State covered 2 games. the biggest spread in that first out of these first two teams was on June 1st, so the first time they met, and the Lynx were 14.5-point favorites, did not cover, ended up only winning by 11. This is going to be a similar number, I think, by the time tip-off Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. So I like the Lynx here. Give me the Lynx basically, by default, unless I say otherwise, because I do think they're on a mission. And I think the fact that Nafisa might lose out on that MVP award is going to be good for this team.
Valkyries get a lot of credit for where they are, right? But let's break it down, sort of dissect. They're here because they had a great home court advantage. They caught teams on road trips. They went east, and they were just more prepared against a team, and maybe even tried harder against a team that was approaching the regular season a certain way. But now that the Lynx are on a mission, from a talent perspective, they should blow them out.
Yep.
This should be a 17 to 22-point win. I would agree with it. It's a low total and a big number, right? You're laying 13 with an over-under under 150. But the Lynx are on a mission. This is not like regular season ebb and flow where the Valkyries cover like every first half. This is one of those where I think the rubber meets the roads, as the old cliche says. So I would certainly lean that way. I'm not ready to pull the trigger, maybe because I just like the Valkyries so much. But you know what? I'll join you. I think this is a beatdown. It's just, I was so mad because I wanted to bet on the Valkyries against any other opponent because I just think they're so much better and crisper. But unless they just hit like 60% threes, this is a one-sided matchup, and they won't have any answer for what the Lynx bring. And it's whether it's Fee or even the inside-out passing to the three-point shot.
Yeah, Doug, since this is kind of the WNBA playoff preview show, if you will, I guess I'm gonna educate some of the viewers on the playoff format, right? It's not like the NBA where everything is a best of 7. First round is best of 3. And I think the Lynx, knowing that it's a short series, they want to take care of business.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna dominate that first game. Everyone's gonna expect, Valhalla to come out and be good in terms of Golden State at home, but I think the Lynx are going to cover game 2 as well. So it's first round is best of 3, second round is best of 5, and the finals are best of 7, just for clarity's sake. But yeah, it's a play that I love. It's a full unit play. I like Minnesota, and I think it's one of those moments where if you think about the NBA and Hakeem Olajuwon and David Robinson, it kind of has that feel to me. And I'm not saying Nafisa is playing against Asia in this series, but I think she's going to take it out on Golden State. I like her points prop. I like her rebounds prop. If you can, if depending on what you're looking at, there's going to be some outlets that maybe have like a steals plus blocks prop. Like I just think that she's going to be everywhere, and she had geared up for the last 6 weeks for this moment, and she's going to be all in.
You mentioned that it's a best of 3 format. It's going to go 1-1-1. So in previous years, the home team got the first 2. So the lower seeded team wasn't guaranteed a home game. Now it is. So it's 1-1-1. So it's going to be Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. The format Friday, obviously, if necessary, back in Minneapolis. And by the way, Valhalla is booked for some tennis, I believe it is. So their home game, quote unquote, is going to be in San Jose. So crowd will be rocking, but won't be the same rims and locker rooms and things like that. So something to keep in mind. But, a lot of the Valkyries' edge has been energy, and you just wonder about the Lynx. But it should be a fascinating playoff Sunday across the board. Let's go to the next game. And this one's really interesting. Fever on ABC going to face the Dream Atlanta, a 7-point favorite. Now, how about the Fever? 250 to 1 odds to win it all. It's pretty beefy considering this team did win in Minnesota over the Lynx to win the Commissioner's Cup without Caitlin Clark. Now they don't have Sophie Cunningham. Odyssey Sims is a quality point guard in this league. Like, she's 50 times better than Haley Van Lith, who was actually drafted last year, shouldn't be in the league. So you have Sims, and if Howard, Boston, and Mitchell can go off, like, I've made worse bets than 250 to 1 in this situation. But I'm just surprised that the liability from early in the season is not so significant on the Fever that there's even offerings of 250 to 1. But in terms of this matchup, Dream or 7, I was hoping we'd get this on the cheap, like 4.5, 5. I think the Dream are really good. They're really well coached. I love all their role players. I think Naz Hillman's going to win Sixth Player of the Year. Alicia Gray is awesome, and Griner comes off the bench. There's just a lot to like now that Jordan Canada's back and healthy. 7 feels a little rich, though. I do think the Fever can keep this inside the number. So if I had to play it, I would play Indiana in the points.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna zag where I've been zigging for the last couple weeks. I've been high on this Atlanta Dream team, but I think it's a fever play. I think the number is a little bit inflated. The Dream is coming into the postseason on I think a 6-game winning streak. Let's see, 2, 4, 6.
Right.
But Doug, 3 of those games are against the Connecticut Sun. 1 was against the Wings, and then 2 back-to-back against Sparks. And I know how you feel about the Sparks. So not the toughest of competitions. Obviously, they took care of business. 6 in a row. You play who's in front of you. They took care of business, like I said. And they have a lot of, size. You mentioned Brittany Griner coming off the bench and, providing that veteran leadership. And she's some games off the bench. She's putting up double numbers, which is very impressive. So props to her. Props to the Dream. I think they get through this series. Obviously, they're the better team. Fever dealing with a lot of injuries. There's no Caitlin Clark for those who are wondering. But for this game, I do think the Fever are going to have a chance. They're going to be a live dog, in my opinion. I think the 7 points, I'll take that all day. Give me the Indiana Fever 7. I would sprinkle the money line a little bit as well.
Ooh. That's surprising, the money line. I can see it. I mean, there's good value. I mean, just given the given the candy there at plus 250. Doesn't this total feel like 10 points too low?
It does, especially if Indiana's going to be shooting a ton of threes, right? It's going to be
Atlanta pushes the pace.
Yeah, I think the fact that there's so many expectations on Atlanta right now, because let's face it, like they're playing way above expectations. They have a home court, game here, first game of the playoffs. I think everyone's expecting like a coronation, a party, and people look on the other side and there's no Cunningham, there's no Clark. I think there's still a ton of talent on Indiana, and I think they're going to be able to keep it close, man.
I do too. I think Atlanta's going to play tight. So I think you nailed it with the fact that they're coming in, having beat up on bad teams. So maybe a shock to the system. I think it's Fever's going to play loose. I think this is an over. Like this is like 10 points too low. So I think I'm typing it in our sheet. Over 158.5 just feels like a really strong play for me. I know playoff defense, all that, refs might swallow the whistle, but going back to last year, there wasn't like an obscene amount of unders or anything like that. So I feel pretty comfortable with the over 158.5 in that game. Oh, man, the worst matchup I could have envisioned for my Phoenix Mercury. I had them at 30-1 and 22-1, and then they were like 9-1, and all of a sudden they draw the Liberty in the first round. Now they're 20-1. It's like, what's the point of grabbing these numbers early, Sure enough. So it's a 4-5 matchup. Mercury are the home team, but look at the Liberty. Third favorite, even though they're on the road the first round. And I'm not ready to buy into this Liberty team. I don't care that they took care of business the last couple of games. This team's a little bit of a farce. So they're road chalk here in Phoenix with the Mercury playing some good ball, though they took their foot off the gas the last couple games, played the bench in the second half, lost both games. So they're okay getting the 4 seed, which is a little surprising given the Liberty await them. I cannot bet on New York. I think they're a farce of a team, but the upside is still there. Stewie did look a little bit healthier because she's looked either at her age or just still coming back from injury in the last couple of games. I still think this team's a little too disjointed for my liking, but Mercury are disjointed at times, and I just don't know what I'm going to get. It's Phoenix or pass for me. I do have a prop to keep an eye out for, but I want to get your opinion first here.
I hated how Phoenix closed out their season. I don't think they're good enough or accomplished enough to just throw away the last 3 games of the year. I know they were locked into the number 4 seed. They've probably circled this matchup with the Liberty now for a couple weeks. They've been probably scouting and game planning and all that, resting their starters. But it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? Just going into the postseason, losing 3 bad games against 3 bad teams. You and I texted yesterday afternoon. I told you I think they were going to mess around and lose to the Wings straight up, like outright, and they got pummeled by the Dallas Wings. Obviously, it's the last game of the season, so no one really cares. But I just think that's you can't mess around with the sports gods, right? And I think the Phoenix Mercury have done that. I like this team a lot. Alyssa Thomas is a walking triple double. Satu Sabali is a solid, big player inside. And then they have players all around, like Dewana Bonner, who left, I think, Chicago just to join here because she fits well with this team and she knows this team, comfortable with the team. Like, they have a lot of depth, but you're right. Facing New York is not the best first round matchup. I mean, both sides, right? Neither of these teams want to face each other because there are pros and cons to face each other. And then second round, they have to see Minnesota. Potentially third round would be the Aces. So this is the hardest road to get to the finals right now, is this 4 or 5 bracket. I don't know. I'm laying off this game. I hope the Mercury show up. They are at home. They deserve to be at home. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Liberty, who has the higher ceiling, just come out and just dominate the inside.
Yeah, let's get involved in the chat. Just the letter A, says, I tailed Doug and took Ace's spread and my Wings spread. So he was on the Wings plus the points, didn't need them. They won by 20. Money line cash. Disappointed Liberty played no defense because we were talking about 7 straight unders for New York. And my Sky team total under did not. Other people chiming in. AZ Flights thinks Lynx can expose the Valks' depth. We already touched on that game, but I agree. We seem to be eye to eye. AZ Flights also said, very glad I only took Liberty first half yesterday because they did storm out of the gates in that one. Henry VIII asking about a little money line series line parlay of -155 with the Liberty and the Lynx. Sets up an ideal matchup in the semis for ratings in the league. What can go wrong? Seems too easy. Well, I don't think it seems too easy, Henry VIII, because the Mercury have home court. I think they're the better team. I really, really do believe that. Now, it doesn't mean they can't lose, and Albert touched on it, just the way they head into the playoff. It's kind of a loser's mentality. It reminded me of the Colts when they had Tony Dungy as the head coach, and they rested week 17 and had the bye. They just came in like they could flip the switch, and it was just very stupid and myopic, just thinking like the playoffs are a different animal. They're going to get everyone's best shot. And I just don't think they can do it. Now, if Alyssa Thomas is that good and Kalea Copper and all that, they have the pieces. I think the question is, and Albert, I want to ask you your opinion on this. We've seen the Liberty, right, have all these warts, right, and struggle with teams, have the midseason lull, and they're getting healthy and stuff. Are they even that great at their best? I mean, I think the Aces are better, and I think the Lynx are better. I just think the Liberty, their flashes are really good. When the ball pops, they have open threes, right? And everybody can shoot. They can go 5 out with Jonquel Jones. And then they pass the ball really well. But it gets like annoying and a little too casual and a little too overconfident when Sabrina throws these forced no-look passes trying to be like Caitlin Clark. Jonquel looks lazy. Stewie like tripping over her own feet. And they take rushed threes. And then on the other end, they don't really play any defense. Mieselman's slow. Sabrina's slow. They lack athleticism. So I don't even know if this team's that good at its best. Like, what I want to do is see them win a round, and then I can hammer against them in the next round with the Lynx.
Yeah, you make some good points. I would say we talked about this throughout the season. One of their remedies or potential remedies to be a lot better in the half court is to put the ball in Natasha Cloud's hand, right? Let Sabrina play off the ball so that she can be in a triple threat position when she catches the ball. She's not quick enough and she doesn't have the handle to dribble up the court and then also beat the player off the dribble. So that's why she needs that advantage, in my opinion. She's still a great player, but I think those nuances whether you do 5, 10, or 15 of those possessions a game would really help that offense and give some room for Stewie. But I would say this is a championship team. There's a lot of pedigree. They know what it takes. Phoenix limping in feels a little overconfident to me, and that's why I'm not as high on Phoenix. I think if they had just won one of the last 3 games, right, just one of the last 3, or close a game out with their starters and show that they can dominate and execute down the stretch, then I would be a lot more confident. It's just now they're facing the champs, and you can't just like walk your way into beating the champions. And I know New York hasn't been great all season. They dealt with injuries, and it's not only Stewie and Sabrina, but Jonquel was out. A lot of other players were out. They have the makings of a championship team, but only if the style fits them. They can't get into a run and gun game against the Lynx or the Aces. They have to play, slow it down, half court basketball. And I think that they know that, in order for them to get where they want to be, and that's to repeat as champions, the games have to be in the 60s and 70s. They can't get up to the 80s and 90s.
I just think the Liberty are, it's like those 80s movies when like the guy walking in the high school locker room with like the collar popped up, like thinking they're cool and they're not. Like they just need to get hit in the mouth, right? Okay, congratulations. You won last year in a 2-team league and you got every break and you stumbled into the championship in overtime at home because the league helped you get every call. Like they're not that good. They're worthy champions, don't get me wrong, but they're not this like Kobe and Shaq Lakers who ripped through the playoffs at 15-1 or whatever it was, 16-1. I think they are in a rude awakening. I do not think if there were a yes, no on the Liberty, I would be hammering the no. I don't think they're good enough to win at all. One prop I do like in this game is Sabrina over 5.5 assists. So that should be her range. That's what it's been. Hopefully, Bet Rivers, as we get closer to tip-off, will have that prop posted because I do think she's in more of a passing mode. She drives, she probes the defense. She's not just chucking and ducking like she was earlier in the season when there was no Mieselman, when there was no Stewie, and she needed to generate her offense against some bad teams. She's not quick enough to create her own shot on a regular basis without a high ball screen. So if they put Copper on her or someone with extreme athleticism to defend her, she does draw really good attention because of her range. She's going to she's a willing passer. So I like over 5.5 as long as her teammates make the play. And she likes to throw ahead and be like Caitlin Clark, so to speak, if Stewie's run the break or something. I think the Mercury are good defensively, but 6 assists is not a lot to ask. Minutes should go up in the playoffs, and I think she should get it done. So no play on the side for you at all?
No,
or total even?
No, I guess one final thing. Like I'm a bigger Breanna Stewart fan than Doug is, obviously, but I would say this is not the 2021 or 22 Seattle team that's built around Breanna. There's no Sue Bird, there's no Tina Charles, there's no Jewel Lloyd. Like there's a big lack of athleticism. So I agree with Doug there. Like they can't win 3 series being that slow and that flat-footed. So I agree with you there. But I also would say that they are definitely live to win this first round, just because I think Phoenix is a little overrated. But if they get past this first round, then I don't see them at all getting into, I don't even foresee that second round being extended. I think it's going to be a very short series against Minnesota.
All right, good. So maybe the Liberty will do us a favor and look good to get there, and then we can just kind of hammer the Lynx in that regard. Final game of the night, the Sunday night bailout WNBA playoff game, 10 p.m. Eastern. Wow, that is a late tip, especially those coming off maybe Sunday night football. The 2-seeded Aces just absolutely scorching. No running on fumes and finished the regular season. They ran through the tape, like I said earlier. WNBA record for 3-pointers made. They passed the century mark. Just incredible stretch. 15 straight wins, and they host the Seattle Storm. 6.5-point favorites, 159.5. I don't see how you can't just bet the Aces in this game. The Storm do have talent. Their ceiling is pretty high, but I just don't think they're consistent enough. They go through too many lulls, and I just think the Aces are pretty reliable. Jewel Lloyd's in a groove. Chelsea Gray's in a groove. Jackie O's in a groove. And then obviously Asia, who's the likely MVP, is in a groove. I'm laying the 6.5. I
mean, this is a team that just made 25 threes, set a new record. Right. I think the record before that was 19. So they flew through the WNBA record for most threes in a game. I would say I'm a little surprised that the number isn't larger, Doug. I know Seattle has talent and they have some names there, but they're on the road. Vegas is on a 15-game winning streak. They've covered majority of those games as well, including last night. It's a little fishy to me. there is one side of caution is the fact that the line is not as high as I thought. And then secondly, we know towards the end of the game when maybe it's a 2 or 3 possession game late in the fourth quarter, that's when the favorite kind of tightens up in the WNBA. And if Seattle's playing at that point with house money and they're just happy to be there, they're playing against the number 2 seed on the road, they might play really free and they might steal one. So I'm not gonna bet this game. I know you mentioned it's Sunday night, it's after football, so more bets are gonna be on this game than probably the other three. But I'm gonna lay off. If anything, the safest play is just Asia Wilson. Like she's by far the best player in this series, arguably the best player in the world. And whatever prop you look at, she's like bound to hit it. I would probably isolate them. That's actually a very interesting discussion, Doug. So let's say Asia Wilson has points plus rebounds plus assists. Instead of consolidating that all and going 0-1 potentially, what if you just isolated them, right? And bet them at a third of a unit each. And
Even assists.
yeah, even assists. I mean, with the way her
So
teammates are shooting, right? Assists could be a good look.
yeah, it's usually like over 3.5 plus money, right? That's what it usually is for her assists. I'm calling up what they did during the regular season against Seattle because remember they have Maglador, they have NECA. So Seattle does present some resistance. Played the Aces 1 by 4 at home. So I actually think the line, we are paying an Aces tax. I mean, look there was steam that came on the Sparks last night, right? They lost by 30. But this line moved from 11 to 10. The Aces played the Sparks not too long ago in LA. It was like 4.5. So to be 6.5 at home to the Storm, I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, it's a big number for a Seattle team that's still relatively power rated, relatively high. And I think this line's right. I just think the Aces are in a groove and the Storm go through too many lulls. But the Storm's like ceiling, like they could win. This is not Valkyrie's Lynx, right? Now that line's twice as much, 13. So, I mean, you can't make it 7.5, right? So 7 would be a line that I probably would put up. But that's a big number, like Dream Fever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 6.5 probably feels right given the frontline defense. And, they recently played a close game. The Storm beat them in Seattle. I mean, the Storm's best is pretty good. Remember, they split the regular season series with the Lynx of all 4 games.
They're actually
So this Storm team, because the Storm they more play with their food against the bad teams.
Yeah.
That's more the annoying part of this Seattle team. So 6.5's a lot. I just feel like the Aces are in a groove, and they really they're just clicking. This is when a team like a wild card team gets into the NFL playoffs, and you don't want to play them, and they go on a run. I think that's what the Aces feel like right now.
Yeah, I just picked up my imaginary hammer and hit the nail because you're absolutely right. Because the Storm, they're 2-8 ATS in the last 10. This is coming from memory. I think they were favored in 9 of those. So they covered on the one game that they were an underdog in the last 10 games. So you're right. Like in that underdog role, they play a lot better. They play with their food when they're supposed to win, when they're supposed to cover as a favorite. So you make good points. You make a good point in terms of the number, just because it's been competitive all season long. But the Aces, man, if they can shoot, I mean, obviously 25 threes is not sustainable. But if they can make 15 a game, I mean, that's an unbeatable team. The way that they're playing, the way that they're sharing the ball, because it's one of those when you play pickup ball, Doug. It's like if your teammate makes a shot, you get happy. They pass it around and another teammate makes a shot, and it's just a snowball effect. And that's what I saw last night when they were playing the Sparks. Obviously, the Sparks, from a defensive perspective, is a completely different league than the Storm. But they were hitting tough shots over the Sparks as well. LA was trying to stop them from hitting threes. They just hit them. And so if the Aces, like I mentioned, if they're at home with all that energy, home crowd, 15 games in a row, winning streak, they can bring that momentum. I think they can cover.
Look, I just think the ebb and flow of a team's season, the Aces are in a really sort of bet on groove. Now they've pounded Sparks team that was checked out. So obviously take that with a grain of salt, but they're not messing around. They are on a mission right now, and I like them. Let's check in on the comments section. PD says, I simply don't trust the Storm. I'm wary of them. LOL. Yeah, it's a fair comment. But as Albert and I just dissected, it's really the underdog role that benefits them. And PD also saying it blows my mind that it was the Aces who broke the 3-point record. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess because their calling card is Asia. She hit a couple threes, but usually it's a team that's just going to chuck threes like all game, like maybe Atlanta or maybe the Lynx with McBuckets. But it also doesn't blow my mind that they were playing the Sparks defense, and that was checked out, just eliminated from the playoffs. So that was really the perfect storm. I want to check in on some other comments, but first I want to tell you about another show that dropped this morning, Betting Weekly Extra Time, with Dan Roebuck, Steve Wiss, and James Eastham previewing this weekend's soccer action in La Liga, Ligue 1, Serie A, and Bundesliga. Look at me just knowing how to pronounce some of those leagues. Probably not perfectly. But yeah, go check it out. Look, the team does a wonderful job on all platforms and on all shows and on all sports. So the soccer and the tennis overseas for us here in the States, they're excellent. And I love texting Nigel. He and I texted recently. He was at that game was at Tarleton, went into Army or whatever. It was a 14-point dog. I gave him the dog plus 14, and they won outright. So that was a nice hit. And I've texted him the other way. He's fed me some soccer winners. So it's good to have that reciprocity. Going through some other interaction on the comment section, which is great. PD says, by the way, the best player in the Fever Dream series is Howard, as in Ryan Howard. I'm not so sure. It could be Kelsey Mitchell. Both can get hot. Both are solid players. It's kind of, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. But that's what makes the Dream so smooth, because even if Alicia Gray's not like carrying a team like she did when Howard was out for about a month, you do have Ryan Howard, who's great at the end of shot clocks, makes buckets. Former Rookie of the Year, obviously, she's fantastic. And they are really a sleeper here in this playoff. So we'll see what the Dream can do, right? I think they're on the right side of the bracket. Don't have to face the Lynx or Liberties per se, but they got the Aces maybe in the next round, and that could be an awesome series, assuming chalk holds. What about this one, Albert? Petey says 4 home teams, money line parlay, plus 300. So obviously the Mercury are part of that, so they're home underdog. But you have, solid, obviously the Lynx we think are going to win because we're laying 13 with them. We think the Aces are going to as well, but the Storm will be, frisky. And then you like the Dream. You like the Fever a little bit on the money line per se. So maybe that's the one to be wary of, the Dream, you think, and obviously the Mercury because they're home dogs.
Is that for game 1 or is that for the series? I read that as for the series.
Oh, I read that as game 1.
Okay. Game 1, I would stay away.
Comparable either way.
Yeah, game 1, I would stay away just because I feel more live as an underdog in game 1, right? You could kind of steal those games a little more often. But for the series, I do like Minnesota, Atlanta, and Vegas. Those 3 for sure for the series. I just don't know about Phoenix and the Liberty just because they're so close. And we just saw that the Liberty, won the title a few months ago. So, but I am confident in the other 3. So if you want to build that and take out the Liberty, that's something that I would be a little more interested in.
I can do that right now on the trusty Bet Rivers app. So you don't like Atlanta or you don't like Phoenix?
Yeah, take out Phoenix, Liberty.
Okay. So a 3-leg money line parlay, no joke, minus 110.
Yeah. I feel very confident in that.
So even though you said sprinkle a little bit on the Fever money line, that's just more a variance play because you think it's going to be a tight game.
Yeah, correct. And again,
that's a nice little parlay for Sunday, just to sweat it out of the nightcap with the Aces money line.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
No, I just wanted to clarify that the parlay that I'm speaking about is more for the series. Like I think that
okay.
The home favorites of those 3 for the series should take care of business, whether the Lynx win or lose in game 1.
Gotcha. That makes sense now that I think of it. Okay. Okay. I can get behind that. Yeah, I'm fascinated. I do think there'll be some tightness. A couple years ago, I had the Liberty against Seattle. This is when it was just Sabrina, and they were 100-1 to win it all, and I bet them in the first round. And then the next game, they lost the next two. I do think the Dream are going to be tight. But I do think they have too much firepower for Indiana. I think Indiana's going to shoot, have their sort of fluidity style. But Atlanta just gets easy buckets. Gray gets to the rim. Canada gets to the rim. Hillman spotting up for three. Brianna Jones, offensive rebounds, or in the post. She creates space really well. They are all sort of connected and know their roles. I think the coach has done a wonderful job, and there's just so much to like with this Dream Team. I think people are sleeping on the people that don't know the WNBA truly are sleeping on the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah, they're super deep, and we talk about home court advantage all the time. They have one of the best, right, in terms of Minnesota, Golden State, and them, right? So I like the Dream a lot. I just wish we could see Caitlin Clark. As a fan of basketball, right? That would have been a really cool series to see if Caitlin Clark can beat the Dream. But that second round matchup potentially against the Aces, is just going to be really tough.
Okay. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. We will not have a show on Monday because it's a dark day in the W, and then the games resume on Tuesday. For the Mercury or anything like that. I mean, I know they got to get past the Liberty, but I mean, is there value on any of these long shots, right? Storm 60-1. Not that any of us love their coach or their team, but now that they're in, maybe they can play free and easy, and they did add Sykes mid-season.
For me, long shots, no. This is actually pretty weird for me because I'm never like this chalky, but I think it's Lynx or Aces. They're the number 1 or the number 2 seed. Aces obviously playing the best out of every single team right now, but the Lynx have played the best throughout the season. And I think that matters. And I think the fact that they're on separate sides of the bracket really, gives me confidence that they're going to see each other in the finals.
All right. Good stuff as always. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Keep track of us and our opinions throughout the Sunday day of action with Twitter and whatnot. But again, we'll be back on Tuesday for Betting Weekly Fast Break, but there's tons of programming. Betting Weekly Hardball, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. That show will be back on Monday as regularly scheduled. So for Albert Nguyen and everyone behind the scenes who makes everyone look so good and does all the heavy lifting, I'm Doug Kezirian. Best of luck this weekend, and we'll see you back here for this show, Betting Weekly Fast Break, on Tuesday.